great to see so many interesting talks at the conference here. So really appreciate you coming along to this talk. When I was asked to do the keynote, it was a little challenging, sort of, what to choose as a subject. And I thought at these conferences, open source, it's very easy to end up getting involved so technically that it's easy to lose sight of the forest for the trees sometimes. So taking that into account and the number of students, and it's great to see so many students at this event embarking on their journey in technology, I thought it'd be good to talk about a couple of topics. The first one was what you can get out of being a member of the community. Quite often we talk about this from the perspective of technological innovation generated by open source, and we also talk about what community members give to their community when they participate. But we don't often talk about what you can get personally out of being a member of a community. So I thought that'd be a really good thing to talk about with so many people coming out of university and perhaps looking to join a community. My name's Gary Evans. As he said, I've been working at Fujitsu for a number of years.
Can you make it a little closer?
A little closer, is that better?
Yeah,
sure.
Please.
So I've been working at Fujitsu for a number of years and on projects that range from the very commercial to very open. And it's given me a bit of a unique perspective over the years. So the second part of the talk, I'll talk about that symbiotic relationship between open source and the commercial organizations that rely on those projects. I think over the last few years, there's been a change in that relationship. The dynamics have changed a bit. And I think that comes down to one factor in particular. So I'm going to talk about what that factor is and how it changes that relationship and what that means to you and your involvement in a project. I thought I'd begin by telling a little story from my book of data tales. It's about PostgreSQL, so I'll read this out. So once upon a time in the vast land of database kingdoms, there lived a wise old database called PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL was known throughout the lands for being a reliable, powerful database, and most importantly, its generous spirit of open source. One day, a young developer embarked on a quest to find a database that was suitable for his project that he intended to use. He traveled through the valleys of Oracle, across the plains of MySQL, and over the hills of MongoDB. Each database offered him promises and gifts of speed, scalability, and simplicity, yet the developer felt something was missing. He finally arrived at the gates of PostgreSQL. "Why should I choose you, PostgreSQL, over the others?" he asked. And PostgreSQL, with a twinkle in its process, said, "Well, young developer, unlike others, I offer you not just performance, but wisdom, not just transactions, but trust, and not just data, but a community. And for every query you ask, I shall provide an answer, and every problem a solution. But most importantly, I offer you freedom, for I am open source." And the developer, intrigued, decided to give it a try. And as he worked with PostgreSQL, he discovered its true power, not just in its features, but in the support and community around it. Impressed and inspired, he knew he'd found his database. Years passed, and his project grew very successful. And he was at a FOSSASIA conference one day, and someone asked him, why did you choose PostgreSQL for your project? And he said, "Well, PostgreSQL didn't just store my data, it captured my heart." And I think, and I guess I like the story and wanted to present the story because I think it encapsulates the essence of PostgreSQL and probably other open source projects as well, in that it's not just a reliable, powerful database, but it's a community-driven project that values collaboration and freedom, and that's really important. Open source projects thrive on their communities, and I think PostgreSQL is more successful and stronger communities out there, and the fact that we have a PGA sub-conference at the event is a real testament to the community behind PostgreSQL. Community, collaboration, I think they're core values of open source projects, and they're key in the success of projects. I don't think I've ever seen a PostgreSQL project, an open source project that's been successful without a good community behind it. And the collaboration and the relationships that you make at this conference are what are going to build the success of those projects we see here, and emerging projects that we're going to see next year and the year after at this event. The concept of open source is a driving force in technical innovation. I think it's well established, so I didn't want to talk about that today. But if we think about it, there's some very well notable characters here from various technologies back to 80 years ago, with Richard Stillman with the Free Software Foundation, and also Eric Raymond wrote the essay, "The Cathedral and the Bazaar must be getting on to 20 to 25 years ago." I read that. So I don't know the new generation coming through, whether you're familiar with that book, but it's certainly worth having a read to get an understanding what open source is all about. So rather than talk about technical advancement or what you can do for your community, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what you can get out of being a member of an open source project. Now, the flow of knowledge and skills and ideas, also provides members with opportunities for personal growth. So, leading up to this conference, I was thinking about, well, what motivates people to be members of open source communities, and I came up with 5. You might be able to think of some others. So I thought we'd do a little bit of audience participation and get a feel for what are the big motivators for people here to be a member of the community that they're in, or even thinking about joining. So the first one I came up with was professional growth and development. Joining a community gives you the opportunity to work with cutting edge technologies, learn about new frameworks, learn about new languages, learn about the best practices associated with things. Also gives you the opportunity to learn soft skills like leadership skills, effective communication, and that type of thing. So that's the first one I came up with. The second one's networking and community engagement. Some people love networking opportunities and connecting with people from all over the world with like minds and like thoughts. And it provides opportunities, I think, also to advance your careers as well. There's also that warmer and fuzzier side, giving some people a sense of belonging and identity within a community. So that was number 2. So have a think about whether that applies to you. And then personal fulfillment and empowerment was the third one I come up with. I think developers love to express creativity and innovate. That's what they do best. I'm not really a developer anymore. I do more management activities, but I dabble now and then. And I wrote a bit of code the other day using a combination of some regular expressions and some of the generated column capability in PostgreSQL, and it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it, so I could really appreciate the buzz that members of the community, obviously far smarter than I, get out of some of the contributions that they make to these projects. And we've seen some great examples of that at this conference. There's been some really cool stuff. So I look forward to seeing some more. And then fourthly, there's that feeling of contributing to the greater good. There's a lot of projects out there that you can belong to where you can feel like you're making a real life impact on society and different communities. A couple that I could think of off the top of my head was the Open MRS, a medical records activity, and ACVO, which was sort of like management tools that provide some transparency to avoid tool and fraud and humanitarian projects and things like that. So I'm sure there's plenty of those projects if that's a motivator to get involved with. And then lastly, money, of course. There's a lot of organizations and sponsors here like AWS and Fujitsu itself. We pay 7 or 8 developers to work full-time just on the open source PostgreSQL project. I think recently they're doing the logical replication feature, and my colleague Nishka will be talking about that next and how that works. So So they're the 5 I thought of. So I thought, let's do a bit of a show of hands for each one and just see which ones you feel might be a motivator for you. Because to be honest, I've got no idea. I know what applies to me. So if I read through each one individually, if you put your hands up, I'll be very disappointed if no one does. So professional growth and development, who thinks that would be a good motivator for them to join a community? Okay, we've got a few. Hopefully, yeah. Networking and community engagement. Is that someone? Yeah, okay, same people, that's great. And personal fulfillment and empowerment. Yeah, that's good. Looks like all of these are equal motivators, I suspect. I suspect maybe everyone's going to put their hand up for money. But contribution to the greater good. Who feels, yeah, okay, there's a few there. And money. Okay, I got to be honest, I didn't learn anything there in that, but that was fun. It was good to see. Thanks for your participation. The second thing I wanted to talk about was a change that I've noticed over the last few years in my role. I was looking through some diagrams, like ecosystem diagrams, so product ecosystem maps, product landscape maps, and even technological landscapes, and they've grown significantly. There's a lot more organisations and products appearing on these maps with links between them. That's quite significant, I think, and I think diving deeper into the landscape map, there's an emerging trend there where commercial companies aren't really just looking for particular ownership of products and selling those products, but they're actually embedding themselves very deeply inside partner ecosystems. I know, looking at the release of some software recently, there's less features coming out and more integration with other products out there, enabling them to embed themselves in this ecosystem where they can provide customers with a product that provides a far greater, well, that meets their needs much better across a greater landscape of things. So it's really about amplifying the value to the end customer and having all these different companies contributing their unique strengths and together coming up with a sum that's greater than all the parts that make it up. So these integrated solutions, I guess what I'm trying to say is that they address a wider range of customer things. So I'll give you some examples. Have you noticed how a lot of large tech companies have been investing in AI startups at the moment? A lot of cloud service providers are coming together, and even cybersecurity companies, large financial companies, large tech companies are sort of buying them up and partnering with them. I think I read last week that Amazon made a $2.7 billion investment in AI startup Anthropic, so that was interesting to see. And I think there must be about 60 or 70 AI startups I was reading about the other day, and interest in them is really exploding. I guess the reason for this is that it enables them to offer some very comprehensive solutions that meet the complex business needs of today. And it allows a seamless experience to customers, integrating everything from data analytics to storage solutions that fits neatly into customers' existing infrastructure and meets the needs that they have. What was I going to talk about? So I guess it's not just commercial companies that this benefits. It benefits open source organizations as well. PostgreSQL, I think, has really benefited from this over the last few years. We see PostgreSQL in a range of cloud services with RDS, Google Cloud SQL, and Azure for Postgres. And those organizations add a lot of other services to it, making the PostgreSQL technology a lot more accessible and easier to use and add value to it. Then we also see integration with development environments. DevOps practices and their tools has encouraged tighter integration with databases. So Kubernetes, for example, Crunchy Data and Fujitsu have both got very good operators for running PostgreSQL in a containerized environment. simplifying things and making much easier to run Postgres in that environment. And really that aligns databases with architectures we're seeing like microservices and CDP or continuous deployment pipelines. And then another example is in data driven decision-making tools. Fujitsu is very good at participating in data federation type services with its foreign data wrappers to so many different data sources. There's also a lot of integration with platforms like Kafka, Elasticsearch, and that type of thing that makes it a fantastic base for that. We heard about PG Vector yesterday that allows integration with a lot of AI tools by storing embeddings and things within it. So it's just getting stronger and stronger in that area. I was talking to our Fujitsu Vietnam team over the last couple of days while I've been here. They've invested heavily in this area, and they've got an open data platform down there that's built on top of PostgreSQL technology. So it's worth going down to the booth there and having a look at this particular use case. So I guess overall it's about PostgreSQL has been very successful in actively shaping these technologies by providing a reliable database technology to build them on that fits very easily into these cloud services that we see today, these DevOps architectures, and the broader data ecosystems that we see emerging. So what does this mean? What's the key here, I guess, for open source communities? I think thinking about it, maybe we need to start looking at how to engage with potential partners, not so much Postgres, because I think that's already happened, but perhaps exploring ways to make sure our open source technology that we develop integrates with those commercial solutions, embedding ourselves within them. So that could mean something like developing plugins for popular commercial products would be a good way to go. Ensuring compatibility with widely used standards, or even collaborating on joint ventures that combine both open source and commercial software. So embracing the ecosystem-oriented approach, whether it's commercial or open source, I think in the end what it does, it unlocks new value to end users and customers, and provides a sum much greater than the individual parts. I think just finishing off, if we look at PostgreSQL in particular and how much the landscapes, the PostgreSQL project's in a fantastic position for the future. It's embedded in all of these different landscapes, from cloud to everything else. So I think it's going to be there for a long time. And for those of you who are new, leaving university, I think considering getting involved in the PostgreSQL communities, or any community is great, but the PostgreSQL community is a great community to join and learn from being a member of before going out and looking at some others. So yeah, I encourage you to get involved in that. So I'm going to finish here. Hopefully I've provoked a few thoughts around this area for you to go away with, and sort of taking you out of some of the lower level technologies we've looked at and made you think about open source at a higher level before we dive down to some of the details in our next session. And I'll hand over to Nishke, my colleague, to talk about logical replication. So thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
All right, thank you.